everyone.
What? I'll let him introduce himself.
Thank you.
So, and it's good to see so many people tonight and people still joining us. So anyway, I will hand the floor over to Phil. He'll introduce himself and go into what we're going to look at tonight, which I'm sure is of great interest to many people. And judging by the numbers we've got so far, it does seem very popular. So without me prattling on anymore, because you're not come to listen to me, please help me welcome to the floor, Phil Heath.
Thank you, Danny. That's excellent and great to see you all. And Matty's got his hand raised, so I'm just going to ask Matty as to how can we help?
No, he just keeps that up so the time is in the corner.
Oh, right, I see. That
So you
means
can see that.
I can't move anybody around once somebody's got the hand raised, that's all.
All right.
I'll take down my hand if you like, there's no problem.
That's fine. I'll put you in the corner anyway. But nobody puts Matty in the corner. Well, welcome everybody. I've got a short presentation. I'm going to use PowerPoint to present a few slides. There aren't many slides. This is going to be a very interactive session and that you will ask questions. If you want to ask questions, you can raise it through the chat box. I've got my eye on the chat box. And hopefully we'll be able to share some ideas as well across the people that are on the recording tonight. So welcome to you all. I'm not sure whether it's sunny. I work in the cellar and I have a green screen behind me. And I go with the blue slide because it just makes my grey hair look okay. So that's nice to see you all. I'm going to do the presentation and hopefully share some information that was raised back in March, and I'll put this on here and share that there. So here we are. So welcome to you all. Elizabeth asked me back in 2023 now, would I consider being the DTM chair for the district? I said yes, because I was looking for a project for my DTM. So I'm hoping that I could do something that would be worthwhile and beneficial for members of Toastmasters. As Danny said, I've been a member for a number of years. It's my 21st year this year. Thank you. I've opened 5 clubs in my time. I'm a member of, strictly speaking, Harrogate now. And I'm looking to open another club in the next few months. So I'm just working on that now in our local town, Wakefield, which is in Yorkshire, God's own county, if everybody knows that.
I have heard that.
Hey, that's it. So the intention is to just give you a little bit of a flavour about what the route to DTM, but in order to get some information, I asked Elizabeth to do a survey. So she sent out a survey and we were lucky enough to get 63 replies. And it was quite interesting. So the first part of the survey said, are you working towards DTM? And we got, some said yes, but then there was still a crowd of people that said no, which I was quite surprised about. So if you're not working towards the DTM, why did you do the survey? So it was an intriguing slide, that one, but I'm trying to then find out some information from the members, what you need to know about the DTM journey and how can we help as the district. So the first thing was there were a few questions that Elizabeth created, and we went through an iteration process of trying to find out what would people really want to know. I'm going to share these with you in the first few slides, and then I'd also like to ask you, what else would you like to know? If we can't answer it on the call tonight, then I will find out and we'll get you that information. I've also produced a PDF document, which is a PDF which covers just about everything you can cover with the DTM Journey, and it's got all the links to the relevant sections, toastmasters.org, and you will be able to then click on any of those links and it will take it to a relevant place. I've also got the application form. I've got lots of things to share if you want to take them. I'll put those in the chat later on. The first thing was the requirements of what is it you want to see? Well, the people wanted to understand the steps, and it is all described on the Toastmasters website. So, but I've summarized that in this document I'm going to produce and share with you later on. One question was transitioning from the traditional DTM path to pathways. And it's no real difference from the old DTM path. If you've been on the DTM path, then you will transition to the pathways fairly soon. It just means you need to make sure that you've covered these 6 steps that I will be sharing in a few minutes. The benefits and commitments associated with pursuing a Distinguished Toastmaster role. The benefits are endless. It's helping give back to not only Toastmasters near your own club, gives back to Toastmasters at the district level, but it can also benefit you and your community. So when we look at the projects that you have to perform through the DTM role, then we're going to give you some ideas about what type of projects you can cover, and they don't necessarily have to be within Toastmasters, and that's something that a lot of people are surprised about. Uncertainty about early engagement with DTM related activities, and my view is that you should start early. So whenever you start the pathways process, it's trying to find out, what do I need to do to become a DTM? You need to look at that path and the DTM route fairly early so that you can prepare and plan, and I'll cover why in the next couple of slides. Part of the role is looking for really people who can help. There are hundreds of people across District 71 who have now achieved DTM. What's happened since COVID, what's happened over the last few years is during lockdown, people have become a little bit disillusioned with Toastmasters and with the route to DTM. It has changed from the old DTM. The route is slightly different now, and it's a little bit more onerous. So we need to cover that and then see how we can help you as individuals achieve the DTM role in the best way possible for you. I'm going to give you some ideas about the high performance leadership projects, which are in most of the pathways. And also there is a very similar project for the DTM project itself, and I'll cover that as we go through the presentation. Speech mentors and mentors themselves, you need to just try and find a mentor within the district who can help you. Now I'm here, I can't say I'm going to be mentor to the 63 people that are going to be on the call tonight, but I will help as much as I can, and I'll point you in the direction to try and give you that support. And also we'll try and give you more information and more support at the district. So I will be at the conference. If anybody wants to collar me, happy to talk and happy to discuss how we can help you and help support you individually. These were some of the questions. What support can I get from my club? And the key thing is about the leadership roles. It's about serving as a district leader, and start within your own club. These are some of the things that people need to know. And again, I've covered that within the leaflet I'm going to produce at the end of the call. So there are lots of tasks that you need to think about, and that's why I say start looking at these early. It might be that you can do a speechcraft or a youth leadership program within your local club, but whenever you do that within your Toastmaster journey, and the journey doesn't have a time limit on it, you can do that whenever, and the completion of the speechcraft, the youth leadership, starting a new club will count whenever. You can only use that once for your DTM qualification, but it doesn't matter when you've done it. And if you've done it within the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, then that will count, as long as you've not used it to count towards any other Toastmaster qualification. So ask around, we'll cover what the leadership roles are within the district as we go through the call, and there will be people on the call as well who will be able to answer in greater detail about what the role involves. And there is the fabulous book, the Leadership Handbook. If you've not had that and read that, download it from Toastmasters and read that. It's a fabulous book, and it just tells you all about the district roles and the district leadership roles. One of the things I did find interesting was that people always bring in the time. I haven't got time. I haven't got time. My view is that this has always been about my own personal development in Toastmasters. How can I become more confident? How can I increase my leadership skills? How can I increase my speaking skills? But also, how can I help others? And work, family, yes, they all come first. Toastmasters is only a hobby. But there are ways that you can achieve the DTM qualification despite all this happening. Some years ago when I joined Toastmasters, I was out of work. So I spent 2 years unemployed, health concerns. 5 years ago, I had a triple heart bypass. So when anybody asks about health concerns, then I completely understand the journey that you're going through, but we can help. Parts 3 to 6 in the DTM path are particularly onerous, which is why, again, I'll repeat it often. Look at the DTM role early. The earlier you start with it, the earlier you start picking on the roles and trying to perform the leadership roles, the better you will be when it comes to the DTM path. So, and again, it's outlined in the leaflet I'm going to provide at the end of somebody's just put in there, Sue Burnett. Yeah, thanks, Sue. There is a tracking spreadsheet available. It's the Toastmaster application, but I've actually condensed that into a tracking form on this particular document I'm going to share with you at the end of the call. So if you hang on to the end of the call, you'll get a worthwhile document for your help and support in the Toastmaster journey. Then people were asking about the accesses to resource and information. There's tons of information. Toastmasters has excelled itself in all the information that you need. The problem is Toastmasters has excelled itself with all this information, and there's tons of it, and it's then trying to find it. So what I've done is produce this document which has summarized it all in the one document, and it's got all the links that you need to go to any of the different places where you can find the information and download more information on the particular part of the role. So bear with me on that. There is tons of information, and I'm going to provide that by the end of the call. These were some of the ones that I can't really help too much with. I did speak about health issues, and somebody did put on, I've just had recently just had a child, and it wasn't my fault. What I will say is that it's actually, I find that these sorts of things are where you can become very, very creative with not only the high performance leadership and not only with the Toastmaster project, but here is an opportunity to look at something that's outside Toastmasters. And when I saw that on the quiz, a recent childbirth, I thought that is absolutely fabulous. Now, had you known at the time when you were pregnant you wanted to go for the DTM role, then there was an opportunity there to say, this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to have the baby, and you can then really go to town on producing a project around, here we have, and you've got a great result at the end of that. But you could use that experience, and using the experience, what about when you want to potty train your child? What about when you want to train them to walk? What about when you want to get them to talk? These are external projects that you could think very creatively, and I just wanted to just try and point that out, that it doesn't have to be in Toastmasters. And I'll cover what the DTM project means and what it says and what you need to do. But the key thing is, just think about, how can I use an experience outside Toastmasters and bring that into my DTM project. So think creatively. And what I'm going to ask as we go through the call later on is for experienced Toastmasters, experienced DTM that are on the call to share with us what they've done for their projects, and I'll share some of my projects as well. So we'll be able to then help you with some of the projects and some of the roles. So hopefully that's given you the first part of it, but I totally understand about different situations, health issues. It's not easy to achieve some of these, especially if you're on the district role. Then there are the things about travel. It was probably slightly easier in lockdown when we all suffered from having to meet online and in this 16-inch square that we're all in at the moment. But the health issues are something that are quite concerning for me. And also, if you have health issues, then share that with your mentor. And if you need help and support, then let's see what Toastmasters can do for that. The last one in that first sentence, people are losing interest. And I think my thought has been over the years that people have lost a little bit of interest in Toastmasters because we've now moved to the pathways. I think it has been a little bit of a downer for some people because they now have to work online with something. When we had the old manuals, it was a lot better having these in your hand and being able to touch some and have something physical. So I do feel, and I do sympathize with people who think that they're losing interest, but it might be that the DTM project can reawaken that interest in Toastmasters, because there are so many exciting things you can do, not only for fellow Toastmasters, but also outside the club. So I'm now going to just have a short break and ask for comments. Anybody, any comments? Do you want to put anything or share with us with regards to the Toastmaster journey? So it's open to you all. Let's have an interactive discussion. So an interesting one there from Ronnie. Thanks, Ronnie. I've noticed that some long-term members are still not confident with pathways and are uninspired by it. And I think that's quite right. I think some people have found certainly a struggle to get into the pathways because it is online. Now, many of us have started to use the online platforms for our work. And then it comes down to when you're actually at work all day and you're working on the computer all day, and then Toastmasters is actually asking you to, with your hobby, to actually go online. So I quite understand why some people can feel some disinterest with that. So I'm totally understanding of that, but we'll try and work around that and work with you. So my first hand up is Mike Molensel. Mike.
Hi, Phil. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. Thanks, Phil. First of all, I just want to say thank you. Really, really big thank you for this. I think it's going to be a huge help to people. And just briefly, I've been trying to finish my DTM since 2017.
Right.
And the only thing I need is a club coach or club mentor. I'm starting that this year, but it's taken from 2017 to get this,
yep,
despite my trying.
It's one of the hardest things in the Toastmaster pathways, and I'm going to try and help cover that as we go through the next part of the presentation. But thanks.
I've been involved in this since 2017. I've had the Advanced Communicator Gold, Advanced Communicator Bronze back then, and I also had the project. I ran a conference. I ran 2 conferences actually as part of the project.
Yep. Is
that project applicable from 2017 to my current DTM?
Yes. If you haven't used that project in any other award, then yes.
Okay, thank you. I have one other question. For those who are starting the project, you have to email Toastmasters International to get access to the project.
I'll come on to that as we go through the next part of the presentation.
I'm a month waiting for them to reply.
Right.
So I think my experience since 2017 of trying to get it is fumbling around in the dark room trying to find the door.
Right.
Because a lot of it is out of your hands. You're trying to rely on others to get club coach, club mentor, Toastmasters International, whose customer care part seems to have fallen apart. They're very slow to respond to things. However, I think our district, with Elizabeth's leadership and you doing this, is hugely important and could actually save people and get them reinvigorated about the DTM. It is a wonderful, wonderful pathway.
It is, and hopefully by the end of the tonight's session, then that will happen. And what I'm trying to liaise with Elizabeth currently in this year's program is that at the district conferences that we have DTM meetings, not only to share good practice with existing DTMs, but also with potential DTMs. So that's
one last short question, Phil.
Yeah.
I did the Speechcraft recently for the second time, but I can't find where it's recorded on the website.
Okay, you've done a Speechcraft.
Yeah.
That would have to take that one offline. We can probably try and find that with you, but I'll move on to my next.
Okay, thank you.
I was going to say victim, but my next person that I can see on the screen is Samuel. So Samuel, welcome.
Yeah, I'm your next victim. Thank you. Thank you very much. Really appreciate this. I think I had this conversation briefly with Elizabeth the last time we met on Saturday, but because of the occasion, we couldn't talk that much. And that's my real concern about pathways and the fact that I tell clubs when I go around and say, listen, when people join clubs and they're not immediately hooked onto pathways, as far as I'm concerned, forgive my language, it probably would be like they are connected to a speaking pub. That means that it's a club, not Toastmasters Club, because I think the link between Toastmasters International and the clubs is the fact there's a system Toastmasters has put in place to measure progress and growth, and which is pathways. If people can say, I meet people who are even in committees and clubs, and I say, so how are you going on? How is it going on with regards to pathways? And they go, pathways, never heard that before. How can that be? So it's a serious problem that we challenge, that we need to immediately look at and drill deep into, because people, members, committee members in clubs are not even on pathways. So they deliver speeches and they're not connected. They don't see the reason. So it's, for me, it's a concern as an area director. And I thought to mention it here so that wherever we are, whatever table we're seated and talking about this, it is not a light matter. It's a serious one. And the second question I want to say before I shut up is, if actually one of the requirements is you should have served as a district officer for 1 whole year. A question is, if you don't do 12 months and you do 10 months, so to speak, and you do everything you need to do that role requires, can that be counted as part of your journey towards DTM?
It has to be a 12-month full term on the district leadership. I'll come back to you, Elizabeth, in a second. So
I wanted to answer that specific question because this year, only because this year, I had to go out and find 35 area directors, and it took a long time. So I negotiated with TI that the people who were late will get that dispensation. So it's not usual. Normally you have to do your 12 months, but for this year only, the people who came late for 10 months, you will still get 1 full year. Sorry to interrupt you, Phil, but I wanted to make that point because it is a special circumstance. That's why I wanted to make that point.
Now I've got people from the district on the line. It's always difficult for me to say, actually, you can fiddle the system if you know what to do. So, but the district people didn't hear that. So there are ways and means that you can make sure that you qualify for it. But yes, this year we've got a special dispensation, and that's great. So thanks, Elizabeth. Thanks for sharing that. Anybody else? Sue Bennett, you've got your hand up as well.
Yeah, I've just become very conscious that I was a division director last year, and I did quite a lot of projects, as you do as a division director, and I have not completed them on the system. So I need to know how I can you know, sort those out really. Because some of those are like level 5 projects.
And they've not gone through on the system.
Not yet, no.
So that would be up to you and your club, and just making sure that your club VP is somebody from the committee is then making sure that you've pressed the button and finished the project online, so that then they get the information to them that says, right, this person's completed it. Can you now click the button for completion? So that there is a process to do that.
Yeah, that wasn't really the question. Sorry, I didn't ask that in the right way. I've done the project.
Yeah.
And I know that I've completed it. I've got evidence that I've completed it, but I've not done, it's almost like a reverse engineering kind of situation where I need to go back and do the bits that I haven't done on the project. So I've done most of the project, but certain bits haven't been covered off. So I need to kind of figure that bit out.
Right. Well, that will be on in your pathway. It will show you where you've done, as long as when you click the button, it then shows you that it's completed. So you should be able to see that in the pathway. But I'm sure we can get somebody with you online. We can go through your own pathway and then just check that how it's completed, so we can make sure that we can do that. But I'll take that one offline, and I'll move on to Elizabeth. Had a hand up, so if you want to share with us, Elizabeth.
I do, and I'm really happy you saw my hand, because I sit in meetings with my hands up. I think because it's brown, I don't know if it's different, people never see me. Okay, so thank you. Okay, I want to make 2 points. First of all, the DTM, as you know, is the highest level of qualification that TI affords. To me, it's rather like having a PhD, and it really is worth doing, and doing well, because it then underscores all your communication, your leadership skills, everything, and brings it together. And it's hugely recognized and respected. I think less than 2% of the total Toastmasters ever gain a DTM or something of that order. So that's one thing, definitely worth doing. I was very sad to hear Mike's story, because it should never have taken so long for you to get where you need to go. And that's one of the reasons why I appointed Phil, and I'm really making a big effort, because in our district, I think we're very low on getting people through the DTM. So now that Phil is in place, we've now got, first of all, someone who's got the DTM, so he knows what he's doing, but we've got a systematic process for how we're going to do it. And I think once we know what your needs are, like whether you need to be a mentor, a coach, and so on, you can talk to the DLT team, talk to Phil, and we can help you move things on. Even how to choose what project to choose, how to choose it. Someone wrote to me this morning and said he couldn't make it tonight. He's already got a DTM. I said, would you be willing to be a DTM mentor? And he said, yes, actually I would. So I think one of the other things I think we could do is to try to appoint Phil, and I'm trying to do your job, but get some DTM mentors to help bring people on, because it is indeed a journey. And you do have the challenge of the project, you have the challenge of finding either a coaching position or a mentoring position, all those good things. But what I would say is in our district now, we do have, I think, the chance for more people to get their DTMs, because we have got a DTM chair, and we've got processes and systems. And certainly I'm going to do my level best to make sure I leave a process in place that will continue afterwards to help you.
Lovely.
So
Thanks, Elizabeth.
I'm going to pause there. Yeah.
I've got one more. Ronnie Smith is coming on. Because I've got another 10 or 15 minutes on the presentation. So Ronnie, you can be
very quickly. Just wanted to say I've been in Toastmaster 10 years, a little bit on and off, but I honestly don't think in that whole time anyone in my club, and I'm not trying to speak badly of my club, I don't think there's ever been a push to why don't you do the DTM or a presentation on it, or anyone really focusing on it that much. And I'm wondering, what I'm listening to today has made me think, would it be a nice idea to do a meeting, a specific meeting where we get some maybe local DTMs to give a presentation and talk about their experience or something like that, to create more of an environment and an attitude and a culture where people are more focused on doing it, because we've got a lot of long-term members who have never completed it.
That's a good idea, and it's something that as part of my project that Elizabeth asked me to do, then what I want to try and now do is encourage more people to take on board, but also existing DTMs to help us with that process. So I'm hoping to try and collar a spot at the conference or at future conferences where we can put a session on, but certainly we can have a drink in the bar for starters, and that's that. So we'll join in the crack. So I'm going to ask you to keep putting stuff in the chat. I will share my screen again. I just want to do this next part of the presentation. So screen 2, and thanks for your comments to date. So there are 6 key steps to DTM. I won't read them all off by hand, or that you can see the slide. This is directly from the Toastmasters website. So these are the 6 steps to a DTM. The first part is you need to complete 2 distinct learning paths, and you can do them in any order, but Toastmasters then say, well, you need to do them in a numerical order. So you do the 5 stages in each path and make sure that you've achieved them. And why I say you need to start early is that when you are working through your second path, when you get to level 3 in your second path, you can then email the education@toastmasters.org to ask them to open the DTM project in your own pathway. And it's a separate project that pops up, and there are 4 or 5 modules that then are populated in your pathway. So you need to start doing it early. So as soon as you get to level 3 in your second learning path, again, I've got this document at the end of the session where I will share that with you, education@toastmasters.org. Now, there was a comment saying that it took quite a while. I'd have to say, as soon as I reached my level 3 in my second path, I emailed it, and within 3 days, they'd open the path. So it's a simple email, just write to that and say, please, can you open the DTM path? As soon as they check that you're on level 3, the path is then opened. And as I say, 3 or 4 projects then open in your own pathway. So very simple, 2 pathways. That's what you'll need as a minimum. This is probably the easiest part of the process. Serve as a club officer. If you haven't served as a club officer, why not? You need to perform 2 6-month terms. So this can be any 6-month terms or 1 annual term, 12 months from June to July, July to June in each year, and complete a club success plan. But that should be part of the normal. You also have to take part in the district club officer training. So club officers, club president, vice president education, vice president membership, vice president public relations, secretary, treasurer, or sergeant at arms all count towards that. So it's all about then thinking, how can I support the club? And in reality, none of these roles are onerous in regards to time. If you're spending more than 3 to 4 hours a week on president or membership, then you're doing it wrong. Vice president education is probably the bigger role. There is a lot involved in that, but I've always seen the vice president education as the fundamental key of any club. But you need to think, what do I want to achieve in my 12 months? Have a look at the role, which is in the club leadership handbook. Have a look at that role, and then see which one would I like, which part of that role do I want to achieve in my 12 months, and focus on that. Don't try and do everything. You might also consider taking the VPE role, and part of that could be your project for the DTM, because you might think, well, what I'll do is, as part of my leadership, I will then get other people to deliver education slots, and I'll deliver however many education slots in the next 6 months. And you've got a project that you could put together by performing the VPE role, but at the same time, you can then do the DTM project by thinking outside the box, by thinking laterally. So it's a key thing. You need to start planning early. So as soon as you get involved in the club, then think about, what could I do within the club to do my DTM project. And one of those could be, you might consider the VPE role is a prime example of that. You might have a finance committee if you're the treasurer. So there might be different things that you can do to form a committee and to form a committee that will then give you the feedback that you require for your DTM project. So there are lots of things you can do in that role. So don't just think the club officer role in isolation. Think about, what do I want to achieve? If you want to achieve DTM, there are lots of information. Yeah, Tom Flynn, yeah, you will get a handout if you bear with us and keep, I won't be too long. I'll put it into the chat box very shortly. So there is a handout. So number 3 on the role is serve a complete 1-year term as a district leader. That's district director, program quality director, club growth director, public relations manager, administration manager, finance manager, or division director, area director. So you can achieve these roles fairly easy. The easiest one probably is the area director. And the more clubs that we grow, then the smaller the areas become. So the objective would be to then say, right, let's get more clubs so we can reduce the areas and we can have more area directors and more leaders. And then the division director is really a true leader, where you don't have to visit all the areas, but what you need to do is think about, how can I manage my area directors, and think about that as maybe as your project. So these roles, you could think about, how can I create the DTM project and use my leadership role in that. So the key thing is, you can do any of these roles, but also then be creative about the DTM project. Just think outside. It's not just about that role for a 1 year, but could I do within that year, could I do something that would then lead me to the DTM project, and put that together? So plan early. So you need to start thinking about these earlier. There was a comment in the chat earlier that said, how long is this expected to take? There isn't any time scale. It's as long as you want to take it. We just heard from a member there that said he's been doing it since 2017. I've been doing my pathways for the last 4 years as well. So it's a key thing is, it doesn't matter how long it takes. So it can take as long as you want it to be. Don't rush it, but make sure you're gaining from the DTM role itself, because there's a lot of valuable experience to be gained both inside and outside Toastmasters. You need to serve successfully as a club mentor or coach, and these are appointed by district directors or club growth directors. So you need to put your name forward to the district through to our district director Elizabeth, or club growth director Mairead this year, I think it is. So you need to be then putting your name forward to them and say, yeah, I'd like to be a club coach at some point. I'd like to be a mentor. The other thing that you need to be aware of is that you don't necessarily need to be a mentor that goes to the club physically. You can do this remotely, and there are lots of clubs online that are still online, but there are also clubs that you can help support remotely, because they don't even have to be in our division. So you could coach a club in Europe, you could coach a club in District 91, you could coach a club somewhere else in the world. So again, this is all about being creative. A club mentor, a club coach can be somewhere else. So just think about how the club mentor is about mentoring the club. So you should be on the application to organize of the club, and you put down as a club mentor. Club coach is a different form that the club, that has to be done by district. So they have to appoint you as a club mentor, a club coach, and the club growth director can do all that. So you need to be talking to them. So the club sponsor is, you work with a club for a short period of time. So you might think, well, I'll help them charter, I'll help them get enthusiasm and create the club, it'll help them. You can help them submit the paperwork to world headquarters. So it's all about just being helpful and supportive towards a new club, and the coaches to really help the clubs grow and get from where they are to being better and becoming a successful club. You must meet the following qualifications. You must have completed at least 2 levels in your path in the pathways learning. So you must be at least at level 2 in the pathways, or in the old system you should have been a advanced communicator bronze or an advanced leader bronze in the traditional. And you can't be a member of the club that you coach. So that's the strict criteria around that. But I would say, if you want to be a club mentor or a club coach, contact district as early as you can. Let them know you have an interest. Let them know you're going through the DTM role, and tell them you want to be a club mentor or coach, and then they will research whether there is a role available. So hopefully we'll be able to get more clubs grown, because the next one, number 5, is serve successfully as a club sponsor. And a club sponsor is somebody who helps build a Toastmaster club. And again, I've put all this in the document I'm going to provide. So a sponsor typically provides a lot of things. That could provide the meeting location. You could provide the charter fee, the new member fees, the dues. There are incentives for the Toastmasters education plan paths. So you are starting to help the club by sponsoring them, by funding, by supporting, by being there and sponsoring them. But you should be on the application to organize, or you could start a new club. And that is really one of the things that you think, well, do we have enough clubs? So get the members that you're currently in your own club, get them to support you in helping build a new club. We did have a club in Leeds for a number of years, and traditionally we wanted to open another club, and the president at the time said, we don't want another club in Leeds, that will reduce the members that we've got. And there was a lot of negativity around it, until he became what was area governor at the time, area director now, where one of his targets was to open a new club. And so suddenly we did have another club in Leeds. So we now have 3 clubs in Leeds. So it's all about thinking, we need more clubs, and where can we get one? You just need commitment and a few members to help you with that, and open a new club. The Speechcraft, it's available in a digital bundle. You have to pay for that. It's a presentation of 4, 6, or 8 sessions, 1 to 2 hours each, and it's helping externally with Speechcraft. It can be any organization you want. It can be schools. You can do it in local community organizations. You can help them with Speechcraft. It can be put into anywhere that you want to then help a number of people, typically up to 25 people, where you would have a group of people come together on regular basis, and you get 2 or 3 members from your own club to help you with that, and they can all qualify for the Speechcraft as well. So Speechcraft is quite an integral part, and it's very similar to the youth leadership program, which is a workshop consisting of 8 1 to 2 hour sessions that enable those between the ages of 14 to 18. So you can go into schools, and then you can do that after school or on weekends. So just talk to your own local schools or academies and see, is there a chance that as a Toastmaster club we can put a youth leadership program on? The good thing about that is you can ask for some funding for that. The club can ask for it. It has to go to the club, but you can ask them to sponsor the materials, so the school can pay for these projects. It's not designed to be profitable. It's just designed that you will be able to get some funding for the youth leadership program, because there are costs associated with that. So the key thing is these are things that you can do outside Toastmasters. Get another club, be a sponsor, conduct the Speechcraft youth leadership program. These are all things that you can now increase your own skills outside Toastmasters. So it's fairly straightforward. Again, the leaflet, I'm going to put that in a second. The last part of the project is complete the DTM project, and the DTM project is on its own. It's a 6-step process. You have to have, once you get to the level, I said level 3 in your second path, email education program at toastmasters.org. And then the project consists of finding a team. It's very similar to the high performance leadership. You develop a team, you develop your vision and design a plan. You deliver a 5 to 7 minute speech at a club meeting to share that plan. You organize the project, you organize your team to lead and then deliver the project. You ask the members of your team to complete the 360 evaluation of your leadership skills. And then at the end of that, you deliver an 8 to 10 minute speech at a club meeting to review the project, the outcomes, the benefits, and the lessons you learned. So there's a whole thing that you, and I say, once you've opened this out in your own pathway, it will then open up the DTM project in the back of your pathway, and you will then get all this information. You've got access to the things like the ethical framework, goal setting worksheet, the goal task resource, the project plan overview. So there's and the 360 degree evaluation resource. So there's lots of things that will come with the project. The key thing is plan, start early. So any questions, anything want. So the DTM, yeah, the DTM team can be from a whole range of different clubs. It can be people from outside Toastmasters. So if you've got a group of people that you meet, if you're in another club outside Toastmasters, then you can use those people and ask them just to fill it in the forms. They're helping you on as your team, but essentially it's just like leading a committee outside Toastmasters to manage an event. So lots of things. What's the minimum time requirement for a DTM project, for example? Doesn't matter. It can be any length of time. You set your own time frame on the project. So Jennifer, you've got your hand raised. How can we help? Question?
Yeah, I was just thank you for your presentation. I was just thinking that probably by not even planning, I've got most of the requirements in hand already, and I didn't even notice. But I was noticing that club coach, I usually club coach for about 2 years. But if you're a club mentor, it's only 6 months.
Yes. There is a time limit on the club mentor, yes.
Right. So so it seems to be, if you become a club mentor, then it's like 6 months doing that. And then if you've already got access to people, you can put on a speechcraft program, and then I could complete my DTM, which I hadn't been thinking about.
And this is why I think you need to plan early. But there are things that if you've done them in the past, then yes, they will count towards your, as long as you just get the criteria, make sure that you've fulfilled the criteria. And if you've achieved it and it's recognized in the toastmasters.org website, then it will be fine to count, as long as you've not used it for another award before. So if you've already done high performance leadership, and somebody said he's done 2, so well done, Liam. That would count towards the end of most of the pathways at the moment. But the high performance leadership, you'd have to look at, see, could you fit that into the DTM project? And you'd need to have the materials that are in the DTM project and answer those queries that are in the DTM project already. So as long as you've got that information. So thanks, Jennifer, for that. I'm going to move on to Justin. He's got his hand up. So Justin, how can we help?
Hey Phil, how you doing? Good evening. I was a coach for 6 months. I think the criteria is that the club has to charter, does it, or has to reach a certain number of members, or has to grow by a certain number of members. So I think there's a success criteria around the coaching role, as I understand it. It's not just about providing the supports to coach. Would that be right, Phil?
I've got the link to that. I don't know the answer specifically right now, but I can find the information for you. And it's in the link to the club coaches in the document I'm going to share with you in 5 minutes.
Perfect. And just one last comment. It's been mentioned about the speechcraft.
Yes.
You mentioned reference to external, external organisations. I've seen some speechcrafts being delivered purely to boost the numbers of the club itself, right? So they are providing external speechcraft, but it's actually for the purpose of the club, benefit the club.
That's where it should be.
Is that okay in terms of a criteria?
It is, yes. It's obviously a great way to try and encourage new members to join, because what you're doing is you're promoting that to an external organisation or an external group of people, and then you've got a group, an interested group, who are then doing they're taking part in a Toastmaster, and you can obviously then sell them the benefits of joining. So it's a great last question I've got is Jessica. So Jessica, do you want to just raise your last question?
Hi, and thank you for the training. It's actually linked to what the previous speaker was just asking. In my case, I've done most of the requirements, but it's just the club sponsors speechcraft or youth leadership that's outstanding, and obviously I need to write to TI. With the club sponsor, is it, I mean, because like when you mentioned about club mentor, you said people need to put their name, they need to raise their hand and communicate with district. Is that the case for club sponsor, or when you're doing a club sponsor, you just go out and do that by yourself, or do you need to liaise with district?
I would still liaise with district, because you need to be on the application to organise. So when a new club is being set up, you need to be on that form that goes in before the club then gets to charter status. So you'll need to be down there, and you can have up to 2 club sponsors per application to organise. So you need to be on that form. So just make sure that if we are opening a new club, could you be a sponsor to that club?
Right, and then does that have a time frame with sponsoring a club, or is it up until it? Do you have to be a club sponsor for a certain period?
No, I don't think it's got a time frame on it. I'll come back to that one in a second, but because I see my time is up. Matty's got his hand up, so I've got to make sure I'm finishing on time. So my last slide, I'll come back to that in a second. If you've mentored a club in the past, it should do if you've got recognition for that in district. So I want to say thanks for attending. My summary to this is start early. You need to be thinking about it when you're doing your second pathway. Once you've got the step 3 in the level, your second pathway, then download all the materials. Make sure you've got access to those. Contact district, get hold of your club growth director, and make sure that you're liaising regularly with district director, club growth director, to say you are interested in the DTM and you need to have some support. You want a club sponsor, you need some of the help from district. So second thing is that find a mentor, find somebody who is an existing DTM to help you with that, and plan. So, and I speak from experience, as you can see here. I'm now working on my pathway, which is will be hopefully my 3rd DTM. So as a district director once said to me, when you've completed your DTM, she said 3 magic words to me, and that was do it again. So I would encourage everybody to do it again. If you need any help and support, I've got loads of information I'm going to share with you while we open I'm going to stop sharing, and then if anybody wants to have a chat, I'll get Elizabeth or Danny to then help me answer some questions.
Thank you very much for that, Phil. Just before I pass on to our district director, there's 2 things that I'd like to ask. If you're wanting to run a speechcraft at the moment, it's $50, but the district will pay for that. So if you want to do it this year, I don't know whether we're going to carry that on next year, but if you want to run a speechcraft, the district will pay for the materials, the online materials. And the second thing is, as Phil has said, the DTM, you need to do a district leadership role. We have got area director roles available at the moment, which will start on the 1st of July. So please, if you're interested in doing the area director, email me and we will work something out. So
Danny, you're on mute.
right, I'll go through that again. There's just two things I want to say. First of all, Speechcraft. If you want to run a Speechcraft, at the moment the district is sponsor. It will pay the $50 it costs for the online materials. Secondly, as Phil has said, if you have to do a district leadership role. If you want to be an area director to start on the 1st of July this year, please email me. We have got vacancies within the district. It's a very worthwhile job. You will be able to, it will help you towards your Distinguished Toastmaster, but it may also help you towards a project if you do something with those clubs. I've said enough. I will now hand over to our District Director, Elizabeth, to give a vote of thanks to Phil for tonight's session. So please help me welcome the District Director.
Thank you all very much. And Phil is, I would say, instrumental in my DTM. I'll tell you a 30-second story. We were coming from a conference in Ireland, and I just happened to sit next to him on the bus going to the airport. And we're just making small talk as you do. And he asked me if I'd done a DTM, and I said no. And by that time, I'd done an awful lot of stuff, only I also didn't know what to do, or I didn't even know what to do about a DTM. And he said to me, you need to plan. Go back, put it all into a spreadsheet, get your plan and work the plan. And that's precisely what I did. And that's how I got my DTM. And that's the tip I would give all of you. Sit down either on an Excel spreadsheet or blank piece of paper and make a plan. Little plan down the side, what you're going to do, time scales, and then find a mentor to help you. There are enough of us in District 71 to help you. So I always say, every time I see Phil, I always thank him. That's why he was the obvious choice for this role. So Phil, thank you, and thank you again.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Yeah, and I want to thank you tonight for what you did, because you took quite a complex subject with lots of moving parts and you made it simple, you made it relatable, and above all, you took time to listen to our questions and comments and so on. And I know you've got some notes and so on to give us.
They're all in the chat box now.
In the chat box, thank you very much. So thank you for that really interesting, informative, and I think quite inspirational presentation. You are a very approachable person, so please, if you've got questions, I'm happy to answer any, because I've walked the DTM path. I should really have done my second DTM, but I just haven't. There's too much to do as district director. I haven't had time to do it, but I'm happy to answer your questions. But Phil is your lead person in the district. The whole district team. Danny is a distinguished Toastmaster. Steve Campion is a distinguished Toastmaster. So there are enough of us. I think the last time I looked, we have like 200 or 300 DTMs across District 71. So there are plenty of people who should be there to help mentor you, answer your questions, and so on. So with that, please keep your interest up, keep your questions coming, and we will help. We can advise you on what projects to do, and so on. So Phil, thank you very, very much for an excellent presentation.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
And I would definitely invite you back, because there's an appetite for this topic, and so you'll be getting another invitation. So thanks to all of you, and as I said, special thanks to Phil. Back to you, Program Quality Director.
Thank you very much, District Director. And I made sure I'm got my speaker on this time. And thank you for warning me that I was on mute. Nobody else did on the call. They all just wanted to watch me there looking a fool. But never mind. I don't care. I've looked a fool before. So I'll add my thanks to Phil tonight for that. It's very informative. As he said, if you want to, mentor, sponsor, coach, you need to get in touch with district to find out where new clubs are planned or where clubs need coaches. With the coaching, to answer, I think it was Justin's question, a coach is for a club with less than 12 members, and to be successful with a role, you have to get that club up above 12 members and be a stable club to carry on. So that's what's needed in coaching. But do contact us if you want to run Speechcraft. Get back to me, and I will arrange for you to have that Speechcraft materials. And it's so good to see so many people on the call tonight. And like Elizabeth, I've also had people contact me and say that they weren't available tonight. So it's good that there is this demand for DTMs in the district. And with that, I wish you all a good night. We have Ted Corcoran on Sunday night giving a speech, our past international president. So please do sign up for that. It's on the website, and I will see you all in Portlaoise or online at some time. So thank you very much and take care.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Good night, everyone. Thanks. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Many thanks.
Thank you, Phil.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Danny.
Phil, that was excellent. Thanks very much. Really appreciate the time and work you put into it.
No
And
problem.
no
Thanks,
doubt it's
Mike.
going to inspire many of us to get the DTM done. Well done.
Fingers crossed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Danny, you haven't shared your contact details. I mean, thank you, Phil, for your details, and thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, Jessica.
Because I think I'll just need that help in, with my last mile.
Well, let's get you over that mile.
Thank you.
I've put my email in there. Thank you very much for that, Phil.
Thanks, Danny. Much appreciated.
And if